Morning, everybody. So basically, Alex at LiveSmart and then Carlisle from ProHab asked me just to come along and talk a little bit about my personal and business journey working with these guys. So I thought it's probably quite apt to talk about kind of how it all came about, and I was like, we'll talk about a few things today. I'll kind of relate them back to what it meant for me personally. And I guess where I started out is I've always had a career in food and drink, and I'm very passionate about food and drink, and actually health and wellness has always been an intrinsic thing for me. But I got to a stage in my career, I'd kind of started at big companies, then gone to smaller companies, so I ran innocent drinks for a while, but always wanted to do my own thing. And as well as doing Vita Coco, I also set up a business called Bear, which is a fruit snack product that some of you might have heard of, and we sold that. Now, I got to a situation kind of 22 years into my career where everything was going great, but almost like felt a little bit like chasing my tail quite a lot. And what I was thinking was, well, look, I know I'm on the extreme of the scale because I'm the sort of person who will always try and cram as much as I can into every single day. If I'm supposed to be somewhere in half an hour, I'll be the person that's doing stuff and we'll be literally pushing it to the very last minute to get to that meeting on time. And kind of working initially with Carlisle, we kind of went through a little bit of a journey, and it was what I would call, for me personally, and I actually believe subsequently for the guys who work with me, something that's been transformational for us. And I guess there's a number of things that really happened in that. First of all, Carlisle introduced me to kind of LiveSmart and this assessment, and I was like, right, here we go, another online survey, blah, blah, blah. And I can be I'm one of these people, I'm a little bit balanced between intuition and insights, but literally I was captivated by the outputs, whether it's about exercise, whether it's about general health and wellness, whether it's about nutrition, of what came out and what it told about me. One of the biggest things I remember though is that Carlisle then asked me to basically, through the LiveSmart guys, they have a monitor tool that you wear for a couple of days, and it just tracks your general vitals through a few days. And I was like, I don't need that, I've got a Garmin heart rate monitor, I'm fine, but okay, let's go with this. And what was incredible for that as well is it allowed me to kind of look at the week, the 24 hours of a day during the week, and to really see kind of what I was doing both within work and outside of work and how I was impacting myself. And we always had a bit of a laugh, Carlisle and I, that I spent a lot of time what we call flying the Red Baron, where I was always eating to deficit because I would be pushing things just a little bit too much. And that was kind of the journey that I went on. But what I've really, really learned is that there's kind of 4 key pillars of something that's been developed within something called the Ultimate Wellness Journey, which Carlisle will come on to talk about. And I guess in there it talks about using movement, using nutrition, managing stress, but also actually the biggest one for me actually was recovery. That's the biggest thing I've learned on this whole journey I've been going on, is actually, for me personally, for other people, one of those other 4 modules might be more relevant, and of course over a period of time you dial up one versus the other. Not surprisingly, when I first started it, I wanted to tackle all 4 and I wanted to do literally everything on all 4. But the biggest thing I've learned actually is recovery for me on this wellness journey. It's been the most important thing for me. So I'll talk a little bit about what we then did at Vita Coco. So essentially, I'd obviously been through this journey with obviously ProHab and with LiveSmart, and I thought, if I actually look at our business on Vita Coco, so we are, first of all, our purpose is about drink, eat, and live well through harnessing the natural goodness of coconut. So we're all about putting natural goodness into your body. And I looked at the work environment, everything from the culture, the people, how we ran the business, and all those sort of things. And I thought, look, there's a way we can take what the guys have been doing me personally and bring that into work. And actually Carlisle proactively came to me and said, look, here's the sort of thing we can do. And we created something called the Ultimate Wellness Journey. And what that basic program allowed us to do was to really find ways that we could really help every single person in the building in a different way. But I just want to make a few points to give you a little bit about kind of the background, the backdrop about the situation, which was, if you look at what we did at Vita Coco, so 10 years ago we weren't even in the market. We created a whole new category. We were the first coconut water in market, and we did that. About 4 years ago, having started 10 years ago when I was the first brand, 4 years ago, there were 76 coconut water brands in the UK. Not just coconut water brands, but also we had the likes of Coke with Innocent and PepsiCo with Naked coming in the market, crashing price and creating huge competitive tension, because that's the way that they kind of do the market. So therefore, Everybody in the business was under incredible pressure because, not surprisingly, average price was dropping, margins were under pressure, retailers are using all these other brands against us, etc. And if I then talk about a backdrop as well, that on the supply side of the business, we also had a lot to thank, I guess, the UK economic and political situation about, because we were buying everything on the dollar. And obviously sterling has massively weakened over the last 6-7 years and stripped out a huge amount of profitability in an environment where I can put inflation in. So you've got this whole, if you're not careful, you had a situation where we were literally the darlings of the food and drink industry. So alongside something like Fever Tree, everybody would be talking Vita, Coco. So we went from the darlings of the business, of the industry, to then this situation where we were in what I would call a period of normalisation. So for me, that's everyday business. You guys probably face this day in, day out. But for a lot of my guys in that business, where I think we've just been, not in a rude way, but we've been surfing along, it was time to start swimming now. And a lot of the guys in the business found that very, very difficult and challenging, and felt the pressure, particularly the commercial team, who were dealing with big retailers, who themselves had their own challenges, found it very difficult. So we basically created a program, and I'll talk about 2 phases. So the first phase, the first time we did this, was that, again, the guys went through exactly the same as I did. So we did the assessment, we got the scores of the individuals, we then also got a collective company score. And we then basically built a program around the outputs of that. Now, it wasn't a case of, kind of Alex, Carlisle and I sitting down and saying, right, here's what all the data's telling us, right, here's the 3, 5, 10-point plan. We did workshops with all the guys and said, look, this is what's coming out of all the different surveys. Now, importantly, their personal information and their personal data was always down to them individually, okay? And if they wanted to share it, it's fine, but if they didn't, we didn't. And equally, we were never pushing the ultimate wellness journey onto everybody. This was purely an opt-in. What was really interesting is that we had the classics where people literally bought into this, almost like huge ambassadors it. But the people who literally were like, actually, no, I'm quite happy, I don't want to be kind of pushed and prodded in this way. As they kind of got to learn on the periphery about what was happening here, it kind of starts to come across and say, well, actually, I quite like a go, can I come in now? And, just naturally, that all occurred. So obviously on the first stage of the program, we did all the assessments, and then we actually built an online, for want of a better word, intranet, where we created some great modules around nutrition, around stress, around recovery, etc., and movement being a very, very big part of it. And these were really informative, literally anything from 1 minute to 4 minute kind of tutorials where the guys would go on. You could interact, so not surprisingly, some people were like running into work with a backpack in the morning, doing their video, and they would upload that to talk about how they were kind of improving the movement. So, people did things like that. Equally, we took the task, we put breakfast on for everybody every day. The guy said, well, look, actually, we were really surprised by our sugar intake. So Carlisle will probably talk a little bit about actually the number, but I think it was something like, we created something like a 40 to 50% sugar reduction in the office, just generally by putting in a program in place with this. But all this came out of the data and the program that we developed. But interestingly, as we kind of stood back, what we also realised was, and again, it's part of kind of modern business, is that what we built was an amazing interactive platform, but actually we tend to have quite a young workforce at Vita Coco. Most of them think I'm more like their dad rather than the boss. But interestingly, a lot of the younger guys particularly were like, actually they just wanted to be told what to do. They wanted actually a much more personal thing. Even though everything's available on this platform, a lot of the guys would say, look, actually you need to spoon feed me. And again, there's no issue with that at all. And therefore, we then in the second year of the plan, took what we'd done with the ultimate wellness journey, and we introduced a lot more personalisation to it. So Carlisle and a couple of professionals that he brought in alongside him, we created some one-to-one coaching in the sessions. What we also did as well was that we took what we've been doing on the online platforms, we maintained the online platforms, but we also brought in some much more active and involvement to different modules. So for example, if you'd seen last week, all the guys who acted in the programme, we went down to the Smeg kitchens in central London, and we did a whole module on cooking more healthily and talking about different switching ingredients and stuff like that, and we got a really good well-known chef to come down and do that with us. And again, feedback from the guys has been absolutely amazing on that. I think probably the biggest thing for me though is just, there's a few bits for me which, I guess, why have I done this and why am I doing this? And I think there's a number of reasons I would kind of put this down to. Obviously, personally, I'm very passionate about it, but I was very clear from the start that I'm probably on extreme about buying into this sort of thing. And I never wanted it, I wanted this to be that was all inclusive, but importantly, nobody felt this was forced or something that they could do. But the reason I really wanted to do this was that I know that we ask, similar probably you in your own business, to ask a hell of a lot out of our guys. And I do feel a lot of businesses don't give people the toolkit or the ability to be able to perform and level all their expectations. I also put a real issue personally when I see guys and I can see are under the cosh and it's actually impacting them personally. And therefore, I wanted to basically give them life skills that said, not just during the Vita Coco workplace, but when they're back at home, they're actually in a much better place. And I'll be honest with you, one of the biggest benefactors from me doing this journey personally has been the family situation, because I'm literally a 24/7 person, but because I've learned the importance of recovery and backing off, and rather than being that person who's running up and down that road, I'm actually the person on the pavement now, and I can actually slowly observe and watch this just world of madness going around me. And I use the word probably most commonly with the guys when I talk about resilience. It's all about building resilience with the guys, and the program has done that and done that extremely well. But example of just things that have come out of it, which is actually nothing to do with us, but next thing we know was about 14 weeks ago, the step challenge came up. So teams of 8, blah blah blah, the guys that wanted to do the step challenge, whoever was bottom of the step challenge, you had to clean up the kitchen and clean up the office every week, because we hardly have cleaners, because we're on these businesses where we really want to kind of all knock in and kind of roll our sleeves up. But just to give you an idea, for you to be the top team of a team of 8, you'd roughly need to be doing 1 million steps a week. So that's, roughly speaking, most of the guys are doing between 14 to 18,000 steps a day. Again, people look at different bits a day for different levels of engagement, but for me, I think that's a pretty high number. But what was great for me was I was really happy that actually in that team of 8, we did have some people who were doing 25,000 steps a day, but there were still some guys who were down in the kind of low thousands. And I'm actually cool about that, because I didn't want people to feel that they were being forced on that journey in terms of what they were doing. Alex mentioned earlier about kind of the data side of things, and just to kind of give you an idea, and I think I'm not saying that the Ultimate Wellness Journey, what I've done here, is exclusively driving this, but importantly for me, it's been a huge part or factor in terms of what's happened. But obviously you guys know better than myself about the Net Promoter Score, but you can kind of see we kind of kicked off the program between 2016 and 2017. Kind of the world of coconut and probably coconut water. This was what I would define as Armageddon here as well. This is when really things became challenging. But what you can see now is you can see actually our Net Promoter Score is at 55%, which for me is a huge huge achievement. Actually, it's one of the statistics that I'm most proud of in the business at the moment. But actually, what I liked even more in our latest kind of survey when we did this, it wasn't the 55%. It's actually the number at the top, 100%. Every single person in the business gave their feedback and thoughts around where the business was, what was important to them, and how engaged they were. And that was the biggest thing for me, the fact that we had 100% engagement on that. And you can kind of see how that's moved over time. So really just kind of to summarise really for me is that both from a personal and a business perspective, we have a brand and a business that is all about health and wellness. For me, I think I have somebody who kind of leads the business day in, day out. I have a responsibility to give my guys the tools in line with what the business expectations are. But importantly, do it in a relevant way that gives them a toolkit where they can go away and they can assess, work with professionals such as the guys in front of me here, and assess what is the best program for them to go on this journey on. And like I said, people can commit to this at varying levels. I've had transformational people, and I've had people who've got a little bit out of this, but you know what? They just want to do a few dipping in and out, and I don't have an issue with that at all. But for me, it's been an amazing journey to be on, and for me, again, it's not in a real way to kind of some of the bigger companies, but there's a lot of clunky tools out here, and I think the biggest thing I can endorse this about is that each time the program is tailored to what your company is all about and what the individuals or companies need. And it's been a fantastic journey for us. Cool, that's it from me.